Hello everyone, I hope you enjoyed making the crawl rope, and if you've already made the carousel bead, then this tutorial is about turning the whole thing, or the previous two tutorials, into completed necklace. Basically, joining the crawl together, adding the carousel and a small fringe. So let's get started. You need to have a difference of two crawl units between one side and the other. So my right hand side is 2 crawl units less, and that's because we will be borrowing one from the left side and creating one when we make the join. In order to show you how I am joining these two pieces together, I am going to be using the pink beads, simply because that makes it easier for you to see. And then I will take it apart and restitch it with the black beads. So you should be using just the black beads. But if you like, you could create 2 fake crawl straights to have a go with, rather than messing or weakening your thread that you're currently using. So now I'm going to pass back through this one on the left. What we're doing is using right angle weave to join these two sides together. So now I'm just going to turn my work slightly away from me to work on the next side. So I have the pink bead there, and I've got this one on the left, but I'm missing the one at the bottom. So I'm just going to pass through that, the bead on the right, and then I'm going to pick up a pink bead, and we're going to come back through the bead on the left. And as you know, with right angle weave, we always do one more, just as we did with crawl, but I've got to work round to the next join. So now I'm going to turn it away from me again, and I need to pass through this bead because this bead is missing. So I'm coming down on the left, and I'm picking up the missing bead and coming up on the right. Remember, this is, or better to word it as, try to envisage that you're just doing a right angle weave at this point. Just try not to think too hard about the crawl. Now, this is the last join, and I'm going to pass through this bead. We've got all the beads in place that we need for the right angle weave. But if you remember in previous tutorials that I have done, it's always 4 beads and 1 more, because you need to complete that circle. It's as easy as that. You don't have to make it complicated. So I'm just coming through 1 more, and you see how that's come in really nice and tightly, and we've got a right angle join. And now I just want to weave my thread through the necessary beads to exit the single number 11 bead that is right at the point. And it's that one there. So I'm going to restitch this using the black beads, and I'm also going to correct the bead count for those of you that were eagle-eyed about that one. So I'm going to use 2 of these Swarovski helix rounds, they're 6mm, to hold the carousel bead in place, and some number 8s in the core. So we're going to pick up 1 number 8, one of the rounds, now I'm going to pick up 5 of the number 8s, and then we're going to pass through the center of the carousel bead, and I'm going to pull it so that the number 8s disappear inside the carousel bead. This creates a core where you can pass your thread through, and it stops it rubbing on the carousel bead itself. And then I pick up another 6mm, then I've picked up another number 8, and now we move on to the fringe. Obviously you can choose any colours you like that complement your design. One thing I would say, or 2 things: you can obviously adjust the length. You'll get a better result with your fringe if you have some weight on the end. So I'm going to be using the 6mm helixes and some of the 4mm pearls that I used in the carousel. I'm just picking up a random pattern. Now I think that's possibly long enough. And you see how you can't see the number 8s in the carousel? I'm just trying to decide how I'm going to finish it. I'm going to thread on 1 more seed bead, a number 11, and then I'm going to pick up 3 number 15s, And then I'm going to miss out the 3 number 15s and come all the way back through the carousel and through the number 8, the very first number 8 I threaded on. And when you pull this tight, you want the 3 number 15s to sit in a little triangle. Oh, I'm just gonna start that bit again. Right. Don't know why that pole's giving me a bit of grief. So, yeah. You see? It just gives a nice finish to the end rather than a single bead. And then we're just going to thread up through here. Now the very first fringe that you do is a bit of a nightmare. And the reason for that is the thread is loose. Once you've got this pass done, I found that the remaining fringes I did were much, much easier. This became quite a bit of a faff because you're trying to get your needle through all of the number 8s inside the carousel and excuse me, the number 6 and that number 8 on the other side. I managed to do 5 passes. I think if you used a finer needle, you probably might get another 2 passes through. And again, it's up to you, it's your choice. Then if you had some drop beads, you can see I'm really struggling with this. If you had some drop beads, might look nice on the end of your fringe too, if you had a complementary colour, something like that. Now I'm going to give it another go. I'm sorry I've made it a bit complicated. It isn't complicated, it's just fussy. And I'm just wanting that one pass. That's all I need, and I know the others will be easier. It isn't impossible. And don't try this with a bent needle. Just don't. I did think about cutting this out, but then I thought, you know, I'm human and I want you to see that, yes, I make pretty things, but it doesn't always work well for me. It isn't always straightforward. It's not necessarily a walk in the park. I have struggles the same as everyone else. There we are. I've done it. I am through that number 6. And then I'm going to pass through the number 8. And I'm going to come back through that number 11 at the point. I'm going to come back through that from the opposite side. And then I'm going to come back through the 8, the crystal, the 8's in the core, the crystal, and the 8 on the other side of the crystal. So when you've finally got through this path again, I promise that, there we are, that when you add the next fringes, they will be much easier to make that pass through the carousel. Now when you add in your fringe, I'm sorry if you can hear my washing machine. When you're adding your fringe, try to keep your tension not too tight, otherwise you get like a crimped look. So you want them just to lie nice and flat on your mat. And again, as I said, I did 5. I did 5 passes, and this is what it looks like now. And I've come back through the number 8. Now I'm just going to finish off my thread, but where I've made so many passes through the number 11 at the point, there's a lot of thread, and I thought it doesn't take much just to cover that up, so I'm going to quickly show you how to do that. And I'm going to pass through the 4 beads that are just at the top of this bead that we kept exiting, and I'm going to add in a number 11. You don't have to do this, I just think it's a nice way to finish off. So I'm just passing through these 4 beads. And then I'm going to pick up a number 11. You see how that covers up that thread. And then we're just going to follow the thread, or the bead path, thread path, I meant to say. So that we can put one in on the other side. And then all you have to do is work your thread into your work and use 2 or 3 half-hitch knots and end your thread. So here I am, I finished the necklace. I hope you've enjoyed all 3 of the tutorials. I will put the links for the other 2 tutorials in the description. Have fun with your choices, and I'll see you again soon.